So thank you everybody for joining us today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joanna Rogalski and I work as a senior transportation planner at the Naugatuck+Valley Council of Governments. Now today I'm here with a team of people from the Connecticut DOT, Department of Transportation, and the Beta Group, and we're going to be talking about Americans with disability laws that are required by municipalities to be statutorily followed and complied with. We're going to be talking about a technical assistance program that's being offered by the Connecticut DOT and the regional councils of government across the state to help municipalities meet those statutory requirements. And today we're also going to be talking about data being collected about pedestrian infrastructure in public rights of way along roads that are state and locally owned. Now, before we begin our presentations, I want to ask the panel to introduce themselves, starting with Kamado. Great.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Grew. I am Deputy Project Manager for this job with Beta Group. Nice to meet you all.
Good morning, Colin Bomber from Connecticut DOT. I'm the Project Manager on this project.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Quincy Brown. I'm a Vice President with Beta Group and serving as Project Manager for this program.
Great, thank you, gentlemen. They're going to be speaking momentarily, but before we get into that, I just want to say that Naugatuck+Valley Council of Governments is the first regional group of towns to be offered this assistance. And partly we're being offered this assistance because of the quality of the data we've collected over the years about our municipalities and their public rights of way. The other thing I want to mention is that aside from this being a legal requirement, ADA compliance is important because it allows people with disabilities to fully participate in civic life, and we all want that. Now, this is going to be the first of two regional kickoff meetings, and this one is being recorded. We encourage your questions. For those of you online, we'll be watching to see, use the raise the hand function, and we will address your questions as we receive them. And we hope you come away from this with a better idea about the Americans with Disabilities laws and what the municipalities are required to do to comply with them. And really just to be able to understand better what's going to be happening in the next 18 months as the Beta Group and Connecticut DOT are out and about taking data for public rights of way. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to turn the discussion over to Quasi Brown from Beta. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Joanna. And again, good morning, everyone. Quasi Brown with Beta Group, serving as Project Manager. For today's meeting, we just wanted to point out a few things that are important in terms of primary contacts for this project, as well as some resources that will be made available to you. In terms of project emails, as you can see on the screen, we have emails for Beta Group, NVCOG, as well as Connecticut DOT. So if in the course of this program, you need to contact any of us, please use those email addresses as you see on your screen. There's also going to be a project website hosted by Connecticut DOT as well as NVCOG. You can see the links to those sites as well as the QR code. So again, as we go through this program, information will be made available on those websites and you can freely access that information as well. So in terms of the agenda for today, we'll talk about, obviously, the purpose of this meeting. We'll introduce the project team in a little bit more detail. There's a number of people who are working behind the scenes as well on this project. We'll talk about the ADA Title II requirements and background as it relates to municipalities. We'll talk about the project approach, the municipal survey that we prepared. We'll do a quick preview of what it entails, and then we'll talk about project schedule. So the purpose of this meeting, as Joanna started talking about, is really to introduce this project to NVCOG municipalities. We would also want to talk about the ADA Title II background for municipalities. We'll confirm the points of contact for each municipality. and also then begin that coordination that is very critical to be able to have a successful program. We'll preview the project scope, and then we'll preview the web-based survey, as I alluded to, and then talk about action items going forward in terms of one-on-one meetings with the municipalities. So in terms of the project team, as you've heard, we're working closely with Connecticut DOT as well as NVCOG. And so I'll have Colin introduce the rest of the team, the DOT team that he's working with.
Okay. Thank you, Kwesi. Good morning again. I'm Colin Bomber from Connecticut DOT. So you can see some of the DOT team for this project up on the screen. Myself, I'm in the Division of Traffic Engineering. So some of the folks on the call may be familiar with Matt Bloom and Natasha in traffic engineering, dealing with them on day-to-day issues in your municipality. But also we have our ADA Engineering Coordination Unit. So it's headed by Katie Hedberg, who couldn't be here today, but she's our Deputy Project Manager. And Kamato Simpson is here today, and also on the team are Zach and Julio and Jessica. And that Jessica's our GIS specialist in traffic engineering. So that rounds out our team on the assignment.
Okay, thank you. And from the Naugatuck Valley Council of Government side, I'm going to be the primary contact with the towns for communications about what's going on. But we also have really great a team with Richard Donovan, who is the Transportation Planning Director, and the director of our GIS Maps, Data, and Technology, which is Rich Crowther. Rich and his team does a lot of great data work and GIS work for our towns as well.
And then for the beta group, you've already met myself and Ryan, but there's also Tony Garrow, who is the Director of GIS and Asset Management within the firm. His role will be to serve as the QA/QC lead for this program. We also have Najib Habesh, who is serving as the principal in charge. And then last but not least is Jay Metzger. He's a senior project manager with the firm, but is serving on this program as a GIS lead as well. We also have some sub-consultants that we are working with, namely PathView, SLR, and VN engineers who will be helping us with the field data collection for this project. With that, I'll hand over to Colin to talk a little bit more about the ADA Title II requirements overview.
Thank you, Kwesi. Again, to just explain, my own background, I'm a traffic engineer with Connecticut DOT and specifically work in traffic safety engineering. So I've been familiar throughout my career with designing a curb ramp for a traffic signal, or those parts of ADA compliance. But it's only been in the last year that I've worked with our ADA Engineering Coordination Unit, and I've seen all the details and all the requirements that go into compliance with the American with Disabilities Act, and gotten involved with our own Connecticut DOT ADA transition plan. So there is a tremendous amount that goes into it, and that's kind of why we're here and why we decided to offer this project up to each municipality and bring that assistance. So I just and as Joanna mentioned earlier, the importance of it, kind of learning how you really make a difference in getting people from point A to point B in their daily lives, and the importance of this project. So just wanted to mention that again before I get started, but I'm very, very happy to be here and kicking off this project. So to give everyone a background, the American with Disabilities Act was signed into law 36 years ago. And we're going to talk a lot about Title II requirements. So anytime we say Title II, that is what applies to state and local governments. There's the different titles that apply to others, but that's where we are mainly focused. And additionally, the first version of a law for this was from the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, which was the initial attempt at legislation. It was just a little bit more limited in scope. So the ADA law that we currently have is a little more broadly sweeping and what we're following today. Next slide, please. So just to give a little bit more idea on the legislation itself and the obligations and oversight. So the US DOJ, which is the Department of Justice, has designated US DOT and then FHWA to oversee the state and local agencies in making sure that any projects with using federal funding are ensuring that they are being built to ADA compliance for anything in the public rights of way. So as you can see, that authority kind of gets passed down from the DOJ to the DOT and FHWA, and then on down to CTDOT and the municipalities, and the MPOs and Council of Governments as well are an important partner in kind of helping that coordination. Next slide. So as a part of Connecticut DOT's own ADA transition plan, we are coordinating with the Council of Governments and municipalities, help ensure that municipalities are working to address their own ADA compliance as they are subrecipients to that federal funding. So we started in 2018 and 2019 and sent surveys out. We got 60 responses from municipalities and just asking about their compliance with Title II ADA requirements. And we went again in 2022 and 2023 with another survey. We got responses from all 169 municipalities, and again asking about their conformance with the Title II requirements and also support needed to help bring them into compliance. Next slide, Heidi. So just looking at some of those results from the survey, and a little over half the municipalities had completed self-evaluation, and a little over 3/4 had designated ADA coordinators in their city or town. ADA coordinators can be a variety of background. It could be a building official, a human resource just a professional, a public works professional, but regardless of who serves as the role, or it could even be a standalone role, the important thing is that person's still going to need to coordinate with the others throughout their municipality, because it's really a shared responsibility. So if your human resources person is your ADA coordinator, you're still going to be talking to your public works team and vice versa. Next slide, please. So again, a little bit more on that 2022-2023 survey. Who has completed an ADA transition plan? So specifically in NVCOG, only 2 municipalities had an ADA transition plan. And statewide, it was very similar, where only 26 municipalities had completed an ADA transition plan. One important thing to note is an ADA transition plan is only required if you have 50 or more employees, but the caveat being that if you're in if your municipality is part of a regional school system, the school employees have to get split up in your region and allocated to your town. So if you go to the next slide, please. I won't go through the whole list here, but everyone in NVCOG is over that 50 employee limit when you add in the regional school split to count that total employment. So everyone will have the same requirements of needing the ADA transition plan. Next slide. So just in addition to that needing an ADA transition plan in your municipality, there will be additional requirements Among other things, you need to designate an ADA coordinator, adopt a grievance procedure, conduct self-evaluation, and provide public notice of ADA rights and responsibilities. Next slide. So, one other thing to get some background on is PROAG versus ADA accessibility guidelines. So the American with Disabilities Act accessibility guidelines are the 2010 standard. They were developed primarily for buildings and site facilities, whereas PROAG is the public rights of way accessibility guidelines. They were developed specifically for the public rights of way. So your sidewalks, your streets. The PROAG was officially adopted in December of 2024. So they have recently gone into effect. So the initial 2010 standards had requirements for your curb ramps or sidewalks, whereas PROAG provided additional, more comprehensive requirements, as well as crossings, transit stops, on-street parkings, shared use path. So just to give an idea, when you hear PROAG, we're referring mainly to anything in the public rights of way, whereas at a municipal building, such as a school or a town hall, they're going to fall under the 2010 standards. Okay. So again, I kind of alluded to it, but with those surveys we sent out, we kind of realized that there are a lot of help that would be needed for bringing municipalities into compliance with meeting ADA Title II requirements. So after that, the Connecticut DOT began thinking of how we could help support, and that was the genesis of this project. So in 2024, we had presentations to the Council of Governments and kind of what we were thinking and starting off with these projects and offering the assistance, and that was received well. So we went and put up an RFP out, and last year we had selected Beta and their team for this assignment, and we've gone through a lot of scoping and coordination with Joanna and the NVCOG team, and I'm very pleased to be here right now in 2026, kicking off the project and getting ready to get started and working with each municipality to collect data and work on creating ADA transition plans. Next slide, please. So as a part of this project, just to give everyone an idea of what will be included. So again, it's going to be focused on those PROAG requirements, everything in the public rights of way. So we won't be able to include anything outside of that, such as a park and rec facility or municipal buildings. So in the public rights of way, again, are sidewalks, curb ramps, bus stops and shelters, and traffic signal, pedestrian push buttons. As a part of this scope, we will be getting GIS mapping and completing a field evaluation of 100% of the curb ramps, the traffic signal, pedestrian push buttons, and bus stops and shelters in each municipality. For sidewalks, we will be GIS mapping all the sidewalks in each municipality, but we will not be collecting all the miles just because we just couldn't get, because of our own budget limitations. So we will be collecting 500 miles of sidewalk throughout all of NVCOG. And the way we're going to split that up is a minimum of 10 miles in each municipality will be field collected, and then the remaining based on a prioritization tool, which is going to look at which sidewalks are in higher use and denser areas, and we'll collect the data on those areas. And also, just in each ADA transition plan, we will have a section just to discuss crosswalks and on-street parking, but we won't be field collecting or GIS collecting those as a part of this project. Next slide, please. Okay, And so as part of this project, the responsibilities from my team at the Connect DOT, we're coordinating the funding, and it's an 80% federal and 20% state funding on this particular project. And then we're going to coordinate with Beta and their team and kind of oversee them as they go throughout the project. And in addition, we're going to help monitor the schedule, monitor and be involved with the draft plans themselves. On the MPO and Council of Government side with NVCOG, they've been a great partner. They're coordinating contacts with each municipality. They've helped set up this meeting today, and they're going to be involved again in reviewing the draft plans and working with Beta and their team throughout the duration of this project. And additionally, NVCOG will be helping with a lot of the GIS data needs going forward. That'll be a big component once the project's done. We'll have a lot of great data. How do we keep it up to date and maintained? So that's great that they'll be able to help out with that portion of it. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Kwesi to go over the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. So the municipalities have a critical role to play in making this program a success. And Colin sort of touched on the roles and responsibilities of municipalities in this regard. But just again, want to stress these, that it's important to establish an ADA coordinator. If the municipality doesn't have one, please, that's a priority. So please make sure you have an ADA coordinator in place. And then also to provide any self-evaluation information, that's also critical for us. We want to be able to identify and understand the profile of each municipality that we are working with. So getting GIS layers, spreadsheets, what that has been done previously, all that information is key for us. And then thirdly, to provide public notice and grievance procedure. Does the municipality have one in place? It's critical to have one in place for this ADA program. So that's something that we'll be working with municipalities on. The review ADA transition plan draft that we'll be preparing, that's key. We definitely need input from the municipalities to be able to advance this forward. And then also to involve the public. There's going to be a 30-day review period for the public to review the plan that we'll be developing. And then also the municipality needs to agree to update the ADA transition plan going forward. So again, that's something that we'll look to establish with municipalities. There's going to be a number of coordination meetings with us, as you can see on the right. So it's we're having the regional introductory meeting. This is the first of two. The second one is going to be in Waterbury in 2 weeks. We'll have municipal progress meetings. We'll have a discovery meeting after we've gone out in the field and collected data, meet with each municipality and go over the information with them. Again, the draft plan and presentation, as well as input from the municipalities and the public meetings, that all that coordination will be critical for this project. And then also having a training meeting to go over the process and making sure that municipalities are equipped throughout and going forward. I think that's also critical, and that's something that we'll be doing for this project. So in terms of our approach, next slide, please, Heidi. It starts off with the project setup. And the project setup is really introducing the project as we're doing this morning, getting the necessary base mapping from each municipality is important, and really establishing the contacts with each municipality. So that's a project setup. And then what will happen then is we'll move into the stage of desktop inventory, where we are developing a GIS database of the features that we'll be collecting data on. So it will be, GIS points, lines, what have you. And that information is what we're going to go out in the field to be able to assess each of these features that we'll be collecting data on. As part of the desktop inventory, we'll also develop pedestrian heat maps. Those are very, very important. and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through this presentation. From there, the desktop inventory will go out in the field, and as Colin talked about, we'll be collecting data on sidewalks, curb ramps, pedestrian signals, as well as transit stops and bus shelters. So those are the features that we'll be collecting data on. Once we have the data, we'll have the discovery meeting, as I talked about, and then we will then identify compliant and non-compliant facilities and features. That will sort of that will be the framework in developing the self-evaluation plan. And then we'll work with the municipalities, then ultimately develop a transition plan going forward. Another key component is municipal education and public outreach. That will be extensive throughout this program. As part of this task, we developed 2 videos, one for public outreach and one for municipal training. I'll talk a little bit more about that too going forward. Next slide, Heidi, please. So this is just a screenshot of what a desktop inventory GIS data could look like. This actually on Minerva Street, just outside here. So you can see the point features that signify the curb ramp. You have lines that signify sidewalks and crosswalks. And so this is sort of a snapshot of how the GIS database will look like. Next slide, please. And then again, desktop inventory, I talked about the pedestrian heat maps. This is just an example. This is one we developed for Derby. It's critical because you're able to tell the high pedestrian activity areas within a municipality. This is critical because what we'll do is we'll overlay the features that we'll be collecting data on, like the sidewalks, on top of this map to get a sense of which areas to prioritize. Colin had talked about each municipality having a minimum of 10 miles of sidewalk. Beyond that, what are the areas that we need to prioritize? And that's what the PED maps are going to help us to be able to identify. Next slide. This is an example of the GIS dashboard. This is going to be a living, breathing document that will be able to track our progress as we go through this program. So whether we are in the desktop inventory phase or we are doing full data collection, you can go into this dashboard and figure out how many sidewalks have been, inspected and where are we in the process. This is a great tool. The DOT and NVCOG will have information for the entirety of the region. Each municipality will have access to their particular town through NVCOG. So again, the municipality will only have information pertinent to their town. And then NVCOG and DOT will have all the information. Next slide, please. Once we've gone through the data collection, we talked about evaluation reports. The evaluation reports, one, we're able to identify the compliant and non-compliant features. But additionally, it will have information on the purpose and need. It will talk about the methodology that we go through. It will have information on the findings and mitigation. We'll have information on prioritization of projects, the costs, implementation timelines, responsibilities, etc. All that is going to be spelled out in the evaluation and then the transition plan. And then I had previously talked about the municipal education and public outreach. Again, I can't stress enough how important this is. The public engagement, I talked about the 30-day review period. We'll present to the public, but there'll be a 30-day review period where we solicit feedback from the public and then make revisions and refinements as needed. And then the training for municipalities is also very important. Like I said, we have 2 videos, one for municipal training and one for public outreach that will be made available on the website through the course of this program. So we talked about municipal survey in the agenda, and we want to be able to preview what we've developed so far. It's important because this is what we are going to use to establish a profile for each municipality. So if you can, and then so the survey will touch on a few things. We talk about the general municipal information, the ADA governance and organizational structure, that's important. We'll have that in there. Past PROAC ADA compliance efforts. Again, that's a very important information that we need to get. And current conditions of the municipality sidewalks and curb ramps, signal inventory, etc. GIS and data capabilities. So we know, how much effort, how much help each municipality needs. current or planned PROACT projects, those are important because that would, if we know that, particular sidewalk improvements are being planned for the next year or so, that will help us figure out how to prioritize the rest of the areas that we are going to be looking at in terms of the inventory and coming up with mitigation. Barriers and constraints and challenges, as well as any other information that a municipality feels they would need from us to be helpful in terms of our coordination on the project. There's a link. Heidi, if you could please click on the link. This is shows what the survey will look like as you click on the link. Again, it's just the primary information and then a whole bunch of information that I think we think is very important and key for this project. I want to stress that it's going to be one person from each municipality filling out the survey and not multiple people. So whoever the town designates, whether it's the ADA coordinator, whoever is the person who should be filling out the survey. Project schedule. So this is 19 municipalities. So this is going to take it's going to take a while. We anticipate that we should be ending our work February of 2028. Okay, and it's, as you can see, the breakdown where the project setup, which we are in this phase now. We started desktop inventory in some municipalities. That's from May. We already started that through April of 2027. Desktop and field data collection, that started desktop inventory. We haven't started the field data collection yet, but again, that's going to span through April of 2027. And then once we have all that information, we start working on the ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. That's going to span from August 2026 to January of 2028. And then the municipal education and public outreach is pretty much going to span that timeline for the project. There's a few special events that we want to highlight. We will be participating in those special events. One of them is every year there's an anniversary event for ADA in Connecticut. These are pictures from the 35th anniversary last year. If you can go to the next slide, please. And then this year, it's on July the 29th. It's going to be held at the Three Rivers Community College in Norwich. We will be there. We will have a table, and hopefully we'll be able to see some of you there as well. And thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, we are available to answer them. Thank you.
How are you trending for your municipality?
That's a good question. So can you please pull up the map that Heidi, please?
While Heidi's pulling up the map, can you just repeat the question for those online?
Yeah, so the question was, how are we prioritizing the towns that we are collecting the data in? So we just pulled out a map which shows 4 colors. And so the sequence of the data collection is we're going to start in the purple area at the bottom, and then we're going to work our way clockwise. So from the purple, we're going to go to the green, and then to the red, and then to the blue.
Okay, we're seeing the form. Can you just reshare the map?
Okay. Pull it up here. Okay, can you see the map, please?
Yes, perfect, thank you.
So, yes, so again, the purple, and then to the green, to the red, and the blue.
Just before any field work goes on, you're going to have a follow-up meeting or an initial meeting with each.
Yes, so we will, there's going to be there's going to be a meeting once we start doing the desktop inventory, and we will meet one-on-one with each municipality, one to just confirm the information that we've gathered. Then we'll then talk about the timeline for going out in the field. We will let the municipality know probably 2 weeks ahead of time before we go out in the field. And once we go out and collect the data, we'll come back and meet with the municipality. And then that's what we call the discovery meeting, and then go over our findings with each municipality. So again, this is a long timeline. We will make sure that we give each municipality ample time, one, to prepare for the meeting, for the initial meeting where we are presenting the desktop inventory, and also after we've collected the data in the field. Any other questions? Okay. Well, hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.